Hey everyone, welcome back to the video. Today we're working on this Bilt push mower, and it is a real piece of work. It is dirty, but the reason I'm keeping it is because I opened up the carburetor and it is plugged full of junk. I'm telling you, it is messy. It is self-propelled, so that's one of the reasons I'm working on it. And I actually wanted to test my skills to see if I could get this thing running again. So we're going to tear it apart, clean it up, hopefully get it running. Stay tuned. The first few things you always check for is fuel, spark, and compression. And I was going to start by pulling the carburetor off and spraying some starting fluid in there, but like I said, it was already plugged up. And the other thing is your start shut-off switch. I mean, it's so you can barely squeeze this. So the first thing I got to do is actually go down here, take some things off, and then see why this lever won't release. Alright, so we're going to take the recoil cover off. You got two Phillips screws on the top. We're going to take the air filter housing off, and we'll pop the carburetor off. Well, actually, two bolts to get to the inside of the carburetor to 8mm here. So those are loosened, that comes out. Air filter cover, air filter itself. Alright, let the anticipation grow. Look at this. Look how bad that is. Oh. So it has a little notch bump out that goes around the fuel line there, and that just pops right out. So we'll set that to the side. So we're going to take the carburetor off next, but it's a good idea to always either take a picture or a video like I'm doing, so you remember where exactly everything was connected to. So we're going to need to take these linkages off. There's two 8mm bolts holding on the carburetor, one here and one on the other side. It's kind of hard to see. So it's going to be hard to do with one hand, but I'm going to take these bolts out, disconnect the linkages, disconnect the fuel line, and then we'll take a peek inside the carburetor. Okay, with some twisting and turning and manipulating, we got the carburetor off. It's really not that difficult, just take your time and it'll come off. But anyway, yeah, the see the butterfly inside is, it's almost, I think it is seized up. It's not, what? No, that's not, okay. So yeah, I was feeling a little optimistic about repairing this, but now that we're getting down into it, there's debris inside here. I mean, we'll try, but I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna take the carb apart and see what it looks like inside the float bowl. Pinch underneath here. Oh, that's not good. That looks like sludge running down the mower. It looked dry. I didn't think there was anything in it. As you can see, that is sludged up tough. Oh my goodness. This, okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. I've seen worse than that, but that's pretty bad. And our jet on the inside. Oh, that doesn't look good either. We'll pop the pin out, take the float out, inspect the needle, and the rest of the carb inside here. Yeah, that's pretty dirty. Now you can see on the left side that there's some debris built up on the Welch plug, but as long as there's nothing under that, which we'll probably I'll probably pop that out, make sure it's clean underneath. And then the main jet in the middle there, and you can see, hopefully, there our fuel line here on the right where the fuel comes in. The inlet right there, that circle on the right, the 3 o'clock position, that's completely gummed up and gelled. So carb cleaner, we'll see what we can do. So we have the carb bowl, the float inside, this part, the half inch, excuse me, and then the carb, top of the carb here, a couple other pieces. We're just going to clean them up real good with carb spray, and then we'll come back. All right, so we got the carburetor pretty much cleaned up, so we're going to go over here and remove the 3 nuts to take the recoil housing off, and then we'll pull the fuel tank and be able to get underneath and check out what's going on with that Baler cable. Okay, so we pulled the recoil cover off, and another thing I just noticed was the ignition coil is pretty much sitting on the flywheel. You can actually hear it scraping. So that needs to be like a business card width. So that's going to be adjusted. We're going to loosen that and loosen this. Get a business card in there. Probably get some fine grit sandpaper. Just kind of get the rust off of that. And then to take the fuel tank off, to make it a little easier to get down here and see what's going on, we got to loosen this here and that there. But overall, I mean, I would say that everything that could possibly go wrong with a lawnmower, I'm covering in this video. It would have probably no spark because of the ignition coil being too close to the flywheel. Carburetor was absolute junk. The Baler cable isn't working properly. The fuel tank is dirty, but I think there's probably compression, so I'm happy about that. But this is turning out to be an informative video here. Okay, I loosened the 2 12mm bolts that hold the ignition coil on. We can just fold that back. I'm going to take some sandpaper and clean these contact points. Same on the flywheel here. Wherever you see some rust, just clean that off. Okay, I got the magnet on the flywheel. The ignition coil cleaned up. I'm going to slip a business card in there. I'm going to get the ignition coil close to where it needs to be and line it up with our magnet on the flywheel. Then we're going to insert our 2 12mm bolts, fasten them down, and we want this just to drag a little bit on the business card. Then we'll just pull it out and then it's set. And you'll know when you get to the magnet because the ignition coil will get sucked right in. Now it's going to spin the business card, but I just want to show you what the coil will do when it's lined up properly. See how it popped there? There's your magnet. And there it sticks. You got your business card in between. That's cinched down, and before I go any further, I want to check out what's going on with this Baler cable. Because when you squeeze the handle, like I showed earlier, it's not releasing from the flywheel. So we got to figure that out before we go any further. But what I do want to do is once I get that straightened out, I want to put the recoil cover back on and then check to make sure that we're getting spark and the ignition coil still good. Okay, so when it went from bad to worse, I sprayed this down here with some white lithium grease just to kind of get it loosened up, and was squeezing this back and forth just to kind of, you know, it looked a little rusted, so I thought maybe that was the reason it was hung up. So we back up here, and look what happened. When I squeezed it, that little plastic pin that goes through here, why is it plastic, I don't know, snapped off, so now we lost our tension. So we're going to have to rig something up down here to make it work again. Assuming that we can make it work. So I went ahead and threw a hose clamp on here, and that seems to be working. The only problem is, same issue. When I squeeze this, it's really tight. When I can get it to release, then it's like held up down here. And I don't have a whole lot of experience with these cables, but I'm wondering if something isn't frayed on the inside and it's causing it to get hung up one way and then can't go back. So I'm not 100% sure, but what I really want to do is figure out if I got spark and if it's worthwhile continuing on this project. So we will have to come back to this. I didn't get this on camera, but I want to tell you how I unhooked the cable here. So I pinched this away from the flywheel and opened it up, and that gave me a little bit of some slack, and so I was able to pull out the cable from the hook down here that's attached to, and then the little black tab here on this side, you just pinch it together and then pop it through this hole right here, and then the cable actually slides through this side, so you're able to pull it all out. And I'm able to unthread the end of it here, and it might be hard to see on camera, but it is rusted over here. So I'm wondering if there's not just a bunch of rust on the inside and it's preventing it from sliding back and forth. So I'm going to spray some white lithium grease in here and trying to move it back and forth and see if that might help. Okay, the grease didn't work, so the last resort I'm going to try is to get this cable in as straight a line as possible and then reapply some more grease and try and slide that cable. If not, I guess I'll continue just to see if we can get this thing running, but I'm not going to replace a cable on this, and it's not worth it. I've already spent 2 hours on this thing, and this is just to try and get it running. So yeah, we'll go from here. So I pulled the cable off. Might be tough to see, but I pulled some slack out, and it is nothing but crap. Look at that. Yeah, so I'm going to pull this whole entire cable out as far as I can on both sides. Try and clean that up. That's the reason it's not working, because it's all plugged up there. It can't go back and forth easily. Okay, I got most of that cleaned up, and it was a lot of gunk. I've been spraying it with some white lithium grease, moving it back and forth inside, and it seems to be moving about as good as it's going to get, because I can only pull so much slack through. Certainly doesn't sound brand new, but it's working. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the fuel tank back on, or rotate it back on, I guess. If you didn't see that, I just pulled the two 12mm bolts out. Then we'll throw the flywheel housing back on and check it for spark. So we're about to test spark, and I pull out the spark plug. It's an RC12YC, and I have a bunch of ones, but none of them that match that. So I got to clean this up, check it for spark. So a quick recap, what we've done just to get to this point: throw some starting fluid in here to see if it even starts, clean the spark plug, removed the housing here to get down to the flywheel, cleaned off the ignition coil and the magnet. We had to fix the Baler cable because it was sticking, it was all corroded inside. We already ripped apart the carburetor and cleaned that, and there's probably one or two things I might have missed. But now we're going to throw a little carb spray in here, pull it, see if it starts. If it doesn't, I'll probably keep working on it just to see if I can get it running, but hopefully it does. Hopefully that's enough. Ugh. There's like no compression. It's terrible. It's kind of like I said earlier, everything that could be wrong with a mower is wrong with this mower. No compression. The fuel was bad. The spark was bad because the ignition coil was almost up against the magnet. There was like less than a carb. I mean, it's almost like someone put this out there hoping someone like me would pick it up and just waste a bunch of time on it. Yeah, I might mess around a little bit more and give you guys an update, but this one might just go back to the curb. If you don't hear from me, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something from this video, and see you next time. Here's our final clue to whether or not we're going to pursue 40 psi. That's not going to cut it. So unfortunately, this is going to the curb. I really hope you guys found something valuable out of this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time from the Neighborhood Go-To Guy.